They left. I called them a 0 DPS healer and they left. Hey there everyone, and today we're doing story time, and we're doing this for a very particular reason. We had a plus 18 alderman with a very interesting event happen that is unfortunately a negative example, but what's unfortunate about that is it is actually the perfect negative example to show why things can go wrong in dungeons and some of the general rules that I have. It was just kind of a perfect thing. So if you guys want, you guys can watch the footage. It is pretty much all relevant to this one topic. And that is Mythic Plus is a group environment. It is a team environment. So we're going to be talking about the story first and then what we can learn from this after the fact. So we start in 18 Alderman. The Demon Hunter and the Mage are my friends, and we pug a Ret Paladin as well as a Resto Druid. Pretty much, you know, last week, Fortified Storming, Bursting, you find whatever healer is willing to heal whatever you want, right? That's kind of what it is. That's kind of how this season has gone. So we get into the dungeon, and I'm noticing things are taking a little while, but all the DPS are well over 100k. We're going through it. We're going through the motions, and we die a couple times, and we admittedly did roll Bursting over a few times, but not really that much. But we get to Emberon, and once Emberon goes down, I look over at the meters. Now, one of the reasons why I have those 3 meters, which is damage done current, damage done overall, and healing done current, is, well, I stream on Twitch. You can check the link down below if you want to watch me stream. And everybody is always asking, right? That's why I have my stats at one corner of the screen. That's why everyone always asks. So I just kind of put those away. I don't really look at those a lot unless I have a reason to look at them. And it wasn't until we downed Eberron where I looked at the damage overall to see the healer not even on the board. Now this is 4 bosses and about 75% trash by that point, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong on the trash count, but 4 out of a 5 boss dungeon, and you don't even have an accidental amount of damage on the board. That is something else. Now, there are going to be some people that are going to make this in the comment section. They're going to make this comment. Well, the healers are the healer role. They shouldn't do damage. They should only have to heal. Is the stupidest fucking argument for anything I've ever heard in my life. It's wrong. It's stupid, and it makes no sense. And I'm going to break that down with one logical fact about Mythic Plus. Mythic Plus is a team environment where all 5 players need to utilize their entire kit to time the dungeon efficiently and effectively. Plain and simple, by definition. You have damage spells in your kit, and a lot of healers have gain mana back from doing damage. So, by healers not doing damage, you're going out of mana way more often, which is slowing down the run. You're also slowing down the run by not doing damage. You are not effectively using your kit to complete the dungeon. Plain and simple. By what Mythic Plus is versus how you are playing, that argument is destroyed, and I'm not going to make it again. It's already been done. But my problem wasn't with this Resto Druid literally dealing 0 damage, but Resto Druids have an ability called Adaptive Swarm. An Adaptive Swarm is an ability that A, does damage, but also bounces to friendly targets. You can set it to a friendly target or an enemy target first, your choice, and it bounces between the two. And it increases the amount your hots and dots deal to them, as well as doing some damage. Why are you inting your own healing to not do any damage whatsoever? Like, that seems to me out of this world, that you are so dedicated to literally doing 0 damage that you are taking an ability and never pressing it. By the way, they were a regrowth spammer. We already know they don't know what they were doing. And as well as Nature's Vigil, which is literally a button you press every 2 minutes and your healing gets converted to damage. Like, literally. Which, look, I understand healers. If you are this is not an easy game for you to pick up and play. Mythic Plus is not easy for healers to pick up and do well in, okay? And it takes time and it takes practice to be comfortable in your healing and your healing capabilities while doing damage. But the thing that blows my mind, like I said, is why never even press Adaptive Swarm? My only thing is because they don't do damage. And of course, it doesn't do damage. And of course, this gets found out pretty quickly when after Emberon, I say, hey, you know, healer, can I make a recommendation? And she immediately, he or she, we'll just go with they, immediately start blasting me for screwing up bursting and constantly rolling it over. Now, number one, bursting is a DPS affix. Plain and simple. We got way too used to Master Spell, and that is going to bite a bunch of you in the butt in Season 3. Plain and simple. When you get to 4 stacks of bursting, let them drop. Stop killing things. You can still do damage. Stop killing things and rolling it over. But that's what it is, right? And immediately, and again, I'm responsible for that too. I need to stop damage to roll it over, and in some of the clips you might have seen, I actually stopped pressing my buttons. Now, unfortunately, I do have quite a few bleeds. Those are still, you know, if they're low enough, it might still do enough damage if we're fairly unlucky. But I understand. I don't want to roll over 4 or 5 stacks of bursting into a 6 at 0.1 seconds left. That feels really, really bad. And DPS need to learn this as well. And before you guys think this is me just blasting healers, it's not. DPS and tanks are absolutely going to get their comeuppance in this video as well. So here we have a person who refuses to use their kit effectively to help the dungeon get timed. And when I did say something, I said, hey, can I make a recommendation? They started going after me, and I was immediately like, yeah, okay. This is all coming from a 0 DPS healer, and they bricked the key. They literally said, and this is where I leave the key. Meaning, this is not the first time that this has happened. This is not the first time that this person has been either flamed or called out or told or whatever have you about doing damage as a healer. It's not. They've literally heard it before. They've argued this before. They've had back and forth before, and they immediately left the group. Now, they bricked our 18, but we were all doing well. We were doing okay. We just couldn't get to the last boss, and then the rep paladin was like, hey, man, I have a 19. We can do that. So we ended up getting another healer. We got a priest, and the priest asked us, like, what happened, because he saw us, like, reset the key. And I shared the details meter and said, hey, we were about 3 pulls away from Chronolord, from finishing that dungeon when the healer left, because I called him a 0 DPS healer, when they started calling me out for bursting, which is not my fault. I'm a warrior. I can't do anything. And he laughed, and he's like, wait, not even on the board? I'm like, not even accidentally on the board as a resto druid. And now, as a resto druid, that takes an impressive amount of commitment, or the absolute complete lack of any sort of knowledge about your kit that could exist. And either way, while it is impressive, it is impressively stupid. Now, we ended up going into the 19. We said, hey, look, these are the damage numbers. We're all over 100k. It's a 19. We don't have an augment Voker in the group, and we're all cranking this. And the healer was like, yeah, let's go for a 19. What's the worst that can happen, right? And we actually ended up making better time on that 19 that we ended up timing because, well, A, the healer did some damage, and things were just a lot easier, right? It just helps when mobs die because someone's doing 30k DPS more overall. Impressive, right? It's completely wild thing. So, that's the story. What can we learn from this? Like I said before, number one, first and foremost, Mythic Plus is a team environment, a group environment, and pugging it requires a certain skill set. It requires people in Season 2, and Season 3 is coming. It's a couple days away as of recording this, but guess what? This is going to be another execution-based season and not DPS power season. Season 1 was an execution-based season. Season 2 is execution, and by execution, I mean doing mechanics, dispelling, purging, stunning, stopping, interrupting, and doing all of the things that need to get done for a key to get done. Because it is obvious at this point now that this is what Blizzard is doing to increase the difficulty of dungeons to combat how powerful the player base has become, because the player base has become powerful, and that's not entirely due to Blizzard's doing. We are just getting better at this game. The top level people that are playing this game are getting way better. Am I better than I was in Shadowlands? Yes, I think I'm a way better tank than I was in Shadowlands. I'm kicking more stuff, I'm stopping more stuff, I'm surviving way more, I'm just literally trying to be as big of a monster as I can on the battlefield, and Blizzard needs to find a way to make that more difficult. So adding things like more kicks, more priority stops, dispels, purges, whatever we have, like mass dispels, and those things like that. And I think they did, in fact, increase the duration of mass dispel from 25 seconds, I think it was, whatever it was, up until 2 minutes, because they know what they are going to be doing to increase the difficulty of Mythic Plus, so the bar can kind of remain around the same level max keystone that they're trying to attain for and trying to balance around every single season. So we are going to have to start as a player base understanding execution is more important than the amount of damage that you do on a general basis. Now, yes, you do need to do quite a bit of damage the higher key level goes up. Absolutely. I'm not saying that you can go in there and do 2 or 3k DPS and still be fine. No, you still need to do good damage, but you also need to learn how to dispel. You also need to learn how to use your interrupt. The amount of Ret Paladins this season I have seen with literally 0 interrupts in an entire run and then complain about how difficult dungeons are is mind-blowingly high. And I'm going to just pick on Ret Paladins there for a quick second, because guess what? We had another one today on stream. Literally another one. Oh, this dungeon's so hard, I don't get it. And 0 interrupts on the board. Quite literally. As someone who has completed almost 1,400 runs this season, we're at like 1360, 1370 or something, completed Mythic Plus runs this season, I can quite literally tell you that now, this is going to be different than if you are a higher end player at the, like, if you're doing cutting edge keys and you're in plus 30s, 28s, this does not apply to you, okay? Disclaimer. This is something completely different. This is the pug scene between the 7 to 23 bracket, really. That's what this is, where the bulk of the majority of the player base plays. You might not admit it, and every single WoW player likes to say that they have cutting edge and that they have title and everything else, but fact is, that's not true, okay? Just not. Most of the WoW player base, like, oh man, 20s are so, 20s are so easy, man, I can do this all day long, like, it's crazy. And then you go to the Raider.io and, like, the highest they have is, like, a plus 12, and it's not even timed. All the time, okay? Literally all the time. But we need to get better at execution. We need to understand that kicks and dispels and stops and CC are incredibly important. I cannot tell you the amount of times I have kicked a Retribution Paladin, and again, Retribution Paladins on this one, for refusing to take their refusing to take their dispel on afflicted weeks because, oh, my damage, my AoE build doesn't have it. If you do less than tank damage without one thing in that class tree, that is a player problem, not a build problem. That has nothing to do with the talents. That is entirely a you problem, and you suck at this game. Plain and simple. The amount of people that I have seen die to 10 stacks of the disease in Brackenhide Hollow, while they have a disease dispel available to them, and either have it and never press it, or refuse to take it, and then blame the healer for not healing them through, is staggeringly high. Not to mention the alchemical pots in Brackenhide Hollow exist. They are refillable. It is a 12-second free personal dispel, and you can get unlimited of them. You can just stand by the alchemical pot, use it, refill another one, and then you literally just, it's infinite. Like, and then these people, I don't know why I'm dying. I know why you're dying, because you're an idiot. Okay? Red Foreman said it best. Sometimes life is hard because you're stupid. And that is quite literally what perfectly sums up pugging in Mythic Plus right now. Is the more people refuse to get their interrupts, refuse to get their CCs, refuse to help and do anything, the harder a run becomes, and that is just the objective truth. I can see it in the details. And I'm not literally saying details the meters. I'm saying the interrupt meters, the dispel meters, the stops, the kicks, and all of that fun stuff where you're like, yeah, that makes sense. And like I said, I pick on tanks here a little bit as well. Okay, bears, if you refuse to take remove corruption because it's too difficult, you're inting your team. Another thing is hibernate and turn evil and repentance. I'm pretty sure for the paladins as well. That is used for incorporeal. Okay. Now, if you have, as a tank, said, no, I don't know, I can't take hibernate because it has a cast time and it's really difficult for me to use and get it right. But then you press Beacon of the Beyond in that next pull, in that next dungeon, you are lying to yourself about why you are not taking incorporeal. What you are saying is, it's not my problem. It's someone else's problem. And that right there is the biggest, most worrying concern about pugging a Mythic Plus, is if you get a group of people who say, it's not my problem, it's someone else's. Suddenly you have 4 other people who are saying, it's not my problem, it's someone else's, putting the entire burden, the entire load of mechanics, stops, kicks, and interrupts on one person. Or whatever it is. And that is not healthy gameplay. And that is not a Blizzard problem. That is a community-made problem. That is an us-created problem. And it is up to us to fix that problem. It is up to us to stop thinking that way. To say Mythic Plus is a team environment. It is a group environment. I'm not sure if you've ever watched one of those movies where, this is way more commonly in sports, where there's one person who's constantly trying to do their own thing, they're like the best player on the team and everyone knows it, but they're not a team player. And then at the end of the movie, they realize that they have to sacrifice a little bit of personal glory so the team can actually do good and win. There's so many of you that are that player, that are that movie character right now going into a dungeon, where you literally think your own personal performance is all based on details and that's it, and you never have to kick or interrupt, and everything else is everyone else's problem. You are the character that has to learn that lesson. That it's not all about you. It's about the team doing it together. And it's time now that we learn that as a community.